I've been doing YouTube for going on 8 years now, and first, I gotta say, time really does fly. But second, Doxa's probably one of the most requested watch brands that people have asked me to do videos on over that time. Now, today, I am finally going to be righting that wrong. This is the Doxa Sub 200 Professional, and it's one of the more affordable entry points to the brand at an MSRP of $1,090. And for about $1,000, this three-hand diver gives you features, specifications, and a fit and finishing that is on par with what other brands offer in a dive watch, and this is less money than many of them. Like my Seiko favorite, the SPB 143 62 Moss Modern Reinterpretation. Now that Seiko comes in with an MSRP of $1,200, and yeah, I do really love the style and the design of that watch. And I do think that Doxa beats it in terms of features and does it at a lower price. So what are the features and the specs on this one? Well, before we jump into that, let me give a quick shout out and a thanks to Joe McHale and all of my friends at my channel partner and my local watch dealer, Exquisite Timepieces. And thanks to them for loaning me this watch for the review. This video is presented in partnership with Exquisite Timepieces, located in Naples, Florida. Exquisite is an authorized dealer of dozens of watch brands, including Seiko and Grand Seiko, Omega, Oris, Blancpain, Breguet, and many more. Exquisite also has an amazing selection of pre-owned watches with new inventory coming in daily. So if you're looking for your next watch, check their website, exquisitettimepieces.com, or call their store at 239-227-2932, and let them know that you heard about them from Guy in the Just Bluefish channel. I can't recommend them enough. This Doxa Sub 200 Professional has a 316L stainless steel case that comes in at 42 millimeters in diameter with a 46 millimeter lug-to-lug length. The watch is a little bit thick at a hair under 14 millimeters, but it's 20 millimeters between the lugs. That said, overall, I am a huge fan of the size of this watch and how it wears on the wrist. Generally, watches with a 42 millimeter case diameter might have a lug-to-lug length approaching or even, God forbid, exceeding 49 or 50 millimeters, and I am super happy that Doxa had the wherewithal to keep the wingspan on this one a little bit reserved, and it makes the watch much more versatile for different wrist sizes. Now this watch rides on a matching stainless steel bracelet in a beads of rice style, and the bracelet has a folding clasp with a wetsuit extension, making it a true diver's watch. And look, this is a purely subjective opinion, but I'm not the biggest fan of a beads of rice style bracelet. Now the quality and the comfort on the wrist are top notch, and I have no issues with the fit and the finishing. My problem is just that I don't really care for the look. And again, that's purely subjective. But for those of us who maybe would prefer something else, this watch is also available with a rubber strap, an FKM rubber with a pin buckle, so there are other options if you need them. Hey, let me jump in here real quick and say, please do me a solid and hit the subscribe button. If you would help me with that, it is very important to get that support. Only about 13% of the folks that watch my videos are actually subscribed, and I really need your help, and I need you to click that button. But on the upside, that 13% number is actually higher than it was the last time I checked. It was only around 10 or 11%. Just a couple of weeks ago. So a lot of you have been hitting that subscribe button, and I really, really appreciate it. Now the watch case has a lyre lug profile somewhat reminiscent of the Omega Seamaster case, and it's not as embellished as the Omega, but I do see some similarities in this one, which I have to say is a good thing. The Seamaster has a beautiful case design, and it's nice that this one follows suit. Now, the brushed and the polished finishing on the case, and by extension the bracelet as well, is excellent, and I'd go so far as to say that it's better than many of the watches that I've seen for similar money. The screw-down crown is signed with the Doxa logo in orange, matching the dial and the bezel, and it has a great texture, and it is nicely threaded as well, giving you great screw-down action. And thanks to that screw-down crown, and other features of course, we are afforded 200 meters of water resistance rating on this dive watch, making it the perfect partner for water sports and scuba diving. Now regarding that bezel, The black and the orange elapsed time dive bezel has both fantastic texturing on the edge, giving it a solid and reassuring grip when it's in use, and the detents and the unidirectional rotating action is both smooth and crisp and very satisfying. The bezel also features a sapphire crystal inlay, but disappointingly, it doesn't seem to be fully loomed. However, the dial and the handset loom is quite good, and that's not a disappointment at all, despite my camera having a hard time with super low light video. So yeah, listen, you're gonna have to trust me on this one. The loom is great. Moving on to that dial, that is sort of the hallmark of this watch. The bright, in-your-face orange dial. It's quite simple as far as dials go, but there is a date complication at the 3 o'clock position, and the applied markers and the hands are, as previously mentioned, loomed very nicely. The branding on the dial is subtle and to the point, with nothing extra to distract from its function of being a legible and a reliable tool watch for pro and hobbyist divers. The engraved caseback and the folding clasp both feature the Doxa Fish logo, and those embellishments are a nice additional feature. However, I will say that I do have some mixed feelings on that clasp. Now, the good is that it has plenty of micro adjustment points and that the diver extension is there if you need it. But it's still a pretty simple pressed metal friction locking system, and while it doesn't feel like a clasp that you would find on a 10-year-old $200 Seiko, and yeah, those old clasps were really bad, this also doesn't really feel like a clasp that you would find on a watch that is above $1,000. It could be a little bit nicer. Now, the domed sapphire crystal on this one is really nice, giving the watch a somewhat vintage vibe, which I do like. And while I don't think that it has an AR coating, at least they don't advertise it as such on the Doxa website, I will say that the reflections are really a non-issue on this crystal, so maybe it has it and they just didn't put that information out there, or it just doesn't need it. Either way, the crystal is a win in my book. Now, there's no case display back window, so you can't see the movement, and oddly, on the Doxa website, it just says that the movement is a Swiss mechanical automatic self-winding movement with 38 hours of power reserve running at a 4 Hz frequency. And listen, that sounds exactly like the specs for an ETA or a Sellita movement, so I'm going to go ahead and guess that this is an SW200, which is absolutely great in my book. Those Swiss-made ETA and Sellitas are excellent movements, and I greatly prefer them over the 6R series movement that you find in similarly priced Seiko watches. Now, regarding the brand's history, Doxa was founded in Switzerland in 1889, and during the growing popularity of recreational diving, Doxa collaborated with none other than professional diver Jacques Cousteau and engineer Claude Wesley to bring the Doxa Sub 300T to market in 1967. Now, this model, the Sub 200 Pro that we have here, was first unveiled at the 2019 Baselworld show as a showcase to the brand's commitment to both horology and the sport and profession of scuba diving. Well, there's not a whole lot more to say about this one. I think that it's overall a really great diver, and I think that you get as much, if not more, with this than with dive watches from other brands at similar price points. Sure, I don't think that this one is absolutely perfect. I did have a few complaints, but honestly, nothing is ever perfect. I mean, I had more complaints with my Rolex Submariner when I reviewed that watch, and the Rolex costs like 10 times more than this one, so yeah, I think you probably can't beat this. And if you've been thinking about trying an entry-level Doxa, I would recommend this one for sure. Alright guys, well that's going to do it for today. Thanks for tuning in and watching, I really appreciate it. But don't forget to hit that subscribe button, please. It really is important to have your support, so thanks for your help on that. Now with all of that said, let me also thank Exquisite Timepieces for loaning me this one. And yeah, if you're interested in getting a Doxa or anything else for that matter, I highly recommend giving Joe McHale or any of the guys over there at Exquisite a shout. They really are the best watch dealer. And with all of that said, I will say thanks again, and until the next one, bye now.